What's up, y'all? This is RevFit Radio, Season 6, Episode 1. Welcome to another episode of Revolutionary Fitness Radio. I'm your host, Shawn Garcia. This is the podcast dedicated to bringing health and fitness to the people. Our goal, empowering you all to understand your body, treat it well, and give you the tools to become an agent of change in your community through helping others. Let's move together. So it's exciting to be back with RevFit Radio. If you haven't already guessed from, if you're watching this live, for instance, we have a new format this season for RevFit Radio. We've been testing out different technologies and seeing which one would be the best fit for us. So we are now streaming our podcast live via YouTube, because what we were doing in the past is we were recording our podcasts, and then we were doing post-production, and then we were putting it into iTunes and Stitcher and all those places. And then after that, bringing it into YouTube. So there was a long, drawn-out process before it finally got to YouTube. And we said, let's skip some steps. Let's just do it directly in YouTube. And then afterwards, we could do some post-production for the final cut that goes out in the audio format that you listen to. So if you watch the live YouTube version of the podcast, then you'll get the raw, uncut version with all the errors and okie dokes and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a little bit of post-production, not much though, to be honest, to put out the final version of this podcast. So hope you enjoy this. Let us know what you think about the new format, if it works for you. We want to hear your feedback. So for those who have never heard our show before, this is the podcast, the official podcast of Revolutionary Fitness and the Revolutionary Fitness Academy. And so go back in our archives if you can. Check out past episodes of RevFit Radio, and you can hear about who we are and what we do. But a quick summary is that we're a health and fitness education organization that primarily focuses our work in underdeveloped communities or communities that are lacking access and resources, health and fitness related. So that's the gist of what we do. And within that, we have our own education programs and certifications and courses and all that kind of stuff. And our podcast acts as a form of education. It's a nice free tool that we can utilize to share this information with our community. And so in the past, we've done a couple different formats of shows. We've done our interview-based shows, which we're still going to do a lot of this season and in the coming seasons. And we also have done our live Q&A sessions with co-hosts Dadi Rodriguez and Renee Bachelet. And we're going to have them back this season. The Q&A shows will be going live Monday nights. And so we're hoping to start that next Monday, but if not, definitely the following Monday. And then we're adding in this third format, which is basically just me speaking to you directly. And if you're able to tune in live on the YouTube channel, you can ask questions and engage with me, and we can have conversation that way. So, we'll see how this goes over the next couple months, but we're excited to be back and producing content for y'all. So today we wanted to speak about something that we've talked a lot about in the past, and is, why do we use kettlebells? And most specifically, why do we do the kettlebell swing? So if you've been following Revolutionary Fitness for the past couple of weeks, or you might know that we're in the midst of a kettlebell swing challenge, a 10,000 kettlebell swing challenge. And so we've tasked our community, each community member, to try to swing a kettlebell 10,000 times in the month of June. We started on June 1st. We're now recording this on June 13th, and it'll probably be live a couple days after. So we're right in the midst of this challenge, and it's been amazing so far for me personally, but definitely, this is our 8th year doing it. This is our 8-year anniversary this year. And so it's very exciting to share that with a bunch of people who are putting in tons of hard work and, discovering new things about their bodies. So it's been really, really exciting. And we've also used this challenge, this go round as a fundraiser. So we're raising some money. We're bringing some kettlebell programming to the South Bronx to work with young people in the South Bronx specifically young people who have been impacted by the criminal justice system, and creating some more healthy alternatives and outlets for our young people through the form of exercise and the use of the kettlebell, which is a great tool. So we're raising some money with this challenge. So that's an added benefit. So definitely check out our website, revolutionaryfitness.org, to get more information about how the challenge is working. Obviously, we're midway through, but it's never too late to join. Just readjust your goals. So instead of going for 10,000, maybe you go for 5,000 or 3,000, whatever it is. And, join in on the community and, of course, help support raising funds for young people in the South Bronx. And we are moderating this challenge primarily on our Move with Revolutionary Fitness page. So if you're not already a member on that Facebook page, Move with Revolutionary Fitness, go ahead and find that Facebook group page and, request to join. We're going to be having a lot of cool things coming up through that page. Next month, we're probably going to be doing a natural running program challenge kind of thing, teaching people how to run and run more naturally, and also supplementing their strength and flexibility training into their running program. And we're also going to be doing a body weight challenge in August. So in July, a running challenge kind of program, and then in August going into more body weight calisthenic stuff. So that's going to be really exciting. So definitely join in on that fun. So getting back to the subject at hand, what I wanted to talk to everyone about today was kettlebells. So kettlebells, just a quick overview, because we've done a couple of episodes about this stuff already. Kettlebells are a great tool for many different reasons. One of the reasons are that they're unique design. So the kettlebell is basically like a cannonball with a handle on it. And that cannonball weight is a displaced weight from the handle, which is unique to many training tools, barbells and dumbbells and definitely weight machines are not that. They're not an offset weight. They're very balanced and equal, usually on the sides of wherever you're holding them from. And so in terms of physics, it does something to your levers when the weight is further away. So the weight is a little heavier, is a little bit more dynamic. And also because of the nature of the handle, we do a lot of swinging movements with the kettlebell. And so now that weight is displaced away from your hand and also getting distributed from one side of your body to another, cross-directional. There's a lot of cool, unique things that happen when you're moving around with the kettlebell. So its design is very, very unique. There's other tools that are similar, but I would say nothing really meets the kettlebell in terms of this design. So we really love it for that. So that's one of the benefits. The other benefit is that it's very small, compact, very easy to keep in your apartment or at your gym or wherever. So it makes it more accessible. A lot of times weights and fancy fitness equipment can be hard to access all the time. But if you invest in 1 or 2 kettlebells, you can have those really for the rest of your life. And they just take up, not even a square foot in your room. And that's really, really exciting as well. Also, too, if you're a trainer or if you're thinking of opening up your own fitness kind of facility, kettlebells are great tools to invest in because you can have a smaller space and really fit in a lot of good weight. We have at our RevFit studio where I'm at right now, I forget the count of kettlebells that we have, but we definitely have, a few hundred, if not 1,000, like 2,000 maybe pounds of kettlebells, and they just line the walls and they take up almost no room in our space. And we can teach classes upwards of like 30, 40 people with the kettlebell set that we have. So that's really great. The other thing is that a lot of movements with the kettlebell are the movements that we need. And when I say we, I mean, the modern human, especially the modern human that's living in this industrial age where, Western habits and technology really dictate our daily function. And so our form deteriorates, our posture is off. We have a lot of pelvic floor issues, a lot of foot and back issues, a lot of shoulder issues. And the kettlebell, the movements that we're doing with the kettlebell speak directly to those deficits, and really is like the anti-Western habit fitness tool. And that's really, really great, because then we can start tackling not only getting strong and building up conditioning, but start tackling some movement dysfunctions we might have, or some imbalances that we might have, or some deficits within our movement patterns. And so that's really great, because we don't have to think that much. We're getting in shape, we're looking good, we're feeling good, and we're also correcting some things with our alignment and posture that might have been off for a while. So those are amongst the benefits. Again, we've done many episodes on kettlebells, so check out the past episodes on that. But I wanted to speak specifically about the swing. Now, we're asking people in this challenge to do 10,000 kettlebell swings. That's an average of around 333 or 34 swings per day, if you're doing a 30-day spread like we're doing in this challenge. Now, some might say, isn't 333 swings excessive? Overdoing it, overtraining? Now, I would want to say that if you have issues with technique and your posture's off and you're not able to do a swing correctly, obviously that's going to be dangerous. You don't want to be doing an incorrect movement pattern with poor form at all, really, but definitely not with load, and definitely not for such high repetition, right? So many reps of it can be really disastrous for your body. So first, your form has to be good. That's the prerequisite. If your form is not good, or if you have questions about your form, please hit up a professional, contact one of us from Revolutionary Fitness. We're always available and willing to help people with improving form and posture and all that kind of stuff. You can see, if you're not near a trainer, you always can send a video and we can give you feedback and all that good stuff. So you utilize us as a resource for sure. But if your form is good, which is again the prerequisite, then doing 333 swings, not only is it not bad for you, but it's probably essential for us. So what is the kettlebell swing? The kettlebell swing is a hip hinge. At its bare minimum, the basics of it, it's a hip hinge. A hip hinge is when we flex primarily at the hip joint and we're placing most of the load of whatever weight that we're lifting off the ground primarily on the posterior chain of our body, so the backside of our body. And the main muscle that we're utilizing is our glute muscle, our glutes rather, because there's more than one. There's 3 glute muscles. So we're using our glutes and other muscles, of course, but the glutes are going to be those prime muscles, those prime movers, the agonist muscles, if you know that terminology. And then we have, of course, the synergist and the secondary muscles all throughout the posterior chain, and then the stabilizer muscles around the joints. The kettlebell swing really hits a lot of muscles. I would say almost every muscle on the backside of your body gets some work while you're doing the kettlebell swing, and also muscles on the front side of the body when you get into the extension point, for sure. But the glutes are going to be the primary ones. So now, if we understand that the kettlebell swing is a hip hinge, the glute is the prime mover, I think it's important that we understand, as the modern day human who is, the majority of our day is sitting or doing repetitious movement, but many times sitting, our glutes are usually weak, underactive, dysfunctional, flattened out, all that kind of stuff. And so it causes a lot of issues in our pelvic floor. Our hip flexors are also tied into that equation. They're also tight and short. And so we have pelvic tilts, right? Our pelvic bone is tilted in one way or another. When we're doing things like running or even just walking, we're putting a lot of shear force on the lower part of our spine. And there's a lot of issues that happen upstream and downstream in relation to the dysfunction at the hip. So doing more hip hinging is essential for human health. We need to do more hip hinging, and we need to do hip hinging that's going to encourage development of hip function. And so the kettlebell swing comes in. The kettlebell swing is not only a hip hinge, but now we're placing load. We're using a kettlebell or something related. You could do swings or something related with any kind of weight, but the kettlebell is the best tool for the job. And you're adding this load, and now how it differs from something like a deadlift, which is also a great movement. Everyone should be doing deadlifts for sure. And that's a great hip hinge with load. But in addition to placing load, now we're moving with power and explosively, right? We're snapping into this standing position. That power that we're generating, that explosiveness that we're generating is really at the heart of the human, our human existence. It really is how our hips were meant to be used. So our glutes are well developed, or should be well developed, for a reason. That's how we walk. That's how we run. That's how we get from point A to point B as bipedal animals. And so when we were hunting and gathering and moving across large terrain and, talking to a friend in a neighboring village and all these kind of things, right? If we go back to more indigenous times, our hips were essential, and the health of our hips was essential. And because of the modern day chair and the modern day footwear and all the habits that are attached to modern day society, we've kind of lost touch with our glutes. And again, back to what I was saying before, it's caused a lot of issues. So the swing is going to encourage our bodies to start working how they were created and intended to work. And so that's really exciting, because then you think, okay, if I'm doing this 333 swings, yeah, maybe in the first couple of weeks, it's going to be a real challenge. Maybe I'll have some soreness and some tightness. Maybe my low back will hurt a little bit, whatever. But once we get through that threshold, we start seeing just tons and tons of benefits. We just start feeling stronger. Our posture starts getting nice and tall again. Our ability to squat down, our ability to utilize our hips properly gets restored. Even flexibility, flexibility of our hamstrings, and again, our hip flexors start getting restored. Our abdomen starts getting pulled in, right? So if you have any belly, spillage kind of issues, and you're trying to tighten up your midsection, you see that start happening. You start burning unnecessary body fat. So it starts leaning you out because of this dynamic, explosive component to it. Not only you're getting strength, but you're also getting your conditioning and cardiovascular health. So you start burning off some unwanted fat. You start building up your lung capacity and your heart and blood flow. All these great benefits. You start seeing increase in libido, possibly. You start seeing everything related to the pelvic area working well and working better because of the increased blood flow and the impingements that are being cleared up by the kettlebell swing. I could go through a laundry list of different things, but the main things I want people to focus on is restoring hip health, getting the glutes nice and strong where they need to be, and adding in that cardiovascular conditioning component that many strength training programs are lacking. The kettlebell swing brings it in there. So we want you to do the challenge and get the 10,000 swings under your belt, because it's a great feat and it's very transformative. By the end of the 10,000, you really feel like a different person. But we also want to encourage you to swing or do some kind of loaded hip hinge regularly, especially if you are an athlete. So if you're a runner, if you're a martial artist, if you're, a collegiate level athlete, a basketball player, a softball player, whatever it is, we want to encourage you to do more kettlebell swings. Bring them into your program, bring them into your training. They're not going to be counterproductive like many other strength training programs. There are a lot of strength training programs that just get you tight and stiff, and maybe they put a little bit of strength into your body, but sometimes they make you bulky and slow you down. The kettlebell is not going to do that, okay? The kettlebell swing is going to really encourage you to be powerful, dynamic, and athletic. So bring it into your programming. If you're someone who, again, is sitting a lot and is trying to counteract all your sitting and all the damage that you're doing to your back and to your hips while you're sitting, do more kettlebell swings, right? So the lesson is, we got the challenge, accomplish the challenge, do as many as you can. But then after the challenge, keep swinging, keep bringing the kettlebells into your program. It doesn't have to be forever, for every day, for the rest of your life, but it's a good thing to mix into your program on a regular basis. Say for instance, you do a new program every 2 to 3 months, which is the average, right? I'll stick to a program for like 2 months, and then I'll get into a new program with a different kind of focus, all that kind of stuff. So then that gives you maybe 4 or 5 programs that you do throughout the year. Try to utilize kettlebells in a few of those programs throughout the year. It doesn't have to be every program, every cycle of training you're doing, but definitely try to bring it in at least once a year, a good strong cycle of kettlebell training, if not 2 or 3 times a year. Or really, Greg Cook, one of our movement gurus out there, has been quoted to say that all you need is the kettlebell swing and the Turkish get up, and that's all the weight training you'll ever need for the rest of your life. So if that might be a little bit extreme, but I think the idea really does make sense, right? So yeah, do the kettlebell swing, do it often. Now, if you are doing the challenge, I just want to give some last tips before we finish out this episode, because the kettlebell swing, even though with all its benefits and all the great things it does for your body, it is a repetition of a movement, and any repetition of movement can be bad if there is not some kind of balance created in other areas. So when you're doing your kettlebell swings, right, you're cranking out 300 to 400 swings in a day. That is like your workout, right? But consider bringing in some active rests in between your sets in the form of calisthenics and in the form of movements, maybe with the kettlebell, maybe not with the kettlebell, maybe with some other weight, that are working different movement patterns. So what I mean by this is there's 3 planes of motion that humans move through. And I don't want to get too technical about this and lose anybody, but there's a forward and backward kind of flexion and extension plane of motion, which we do a lot of. That's the sagittal plane of motion. So the kettlebell swing primarily falls into sagittal plane, even though there's a lot of things going on at the hips, but primarily a sagittal plane of motion, forward and backward, flexion, extension kind of thing, right? So if you're doing a lot of that through your kettlebell swing, try to bring in the other 2 planes of motion as the active rest. So that's going to be your frontal or lateral plane of motion. That's that side to side motion. So like side lunges, lateral raises, things like that. And then of course, the last one is going to be our transverse plane of motion, which is the rotation at the waist, the rotation at the shoulders, the rotation at the hips, all that good stuff. So, you can bring in those 2 planes of motion and you're going to have a lot of benefit to it. The way I like to do it is, for instance, if I'm doing my kettlebell swings and I'm swinging nonstop for an hour, just taking small breaks, maybe I'll bring in something like the Turkish get up, or maybe something like the kettlebell windmill. And bringing in those movements, I start opening up the hips in different ways and the shoulders in different ways, and there's a lot of balance that now is being promoted in my training. So that can be those kind of multi-directional movements. Other good active recovery movements are like calisthenics. So like some push-ups, some rows, some bear crawls, some ab work, leg raises, all that kind of stuff. Be mindful though in your active recovery to not do things that are heavy on the glutes, because you're already working them out pretty hard. And I would say even things that are heavy on legs, because like, for instance, if you're doing kettlebell swings and then your active rest is pistol squats, is that, the best choice? I don't know. During your rest, you want your muscles to recover so that you can, keep cranking out those reps. So like I primarily stick to like upper body, core, kind of movements in between my kettlebell swings. I already get a lot of leg work when I'm doing the kettlebell swing challenge, because I also bike ride everywhere. So my legs are getting a lot of work. So I don't feel like I need to do much other work other than like mobility for my legs and my ankles and my knees and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like the active rest and the strength, I kind of focus on upper body and midsection kind of work. So in any case, these are things to consider for your kettlebell swing training. Now, if you're not doing the challenge and you're listening to this episode and you're thinking, how can I bring kettlebells into my program currently? So say, for instance, you're on a running program. Maybe it's once or twice a week you do a kettlebell swing focused workout. It doesn't have to be every day of the week to really be beneficial, but at least once a week, I would say, would be very beneficial to your running training. It's going to get your gait really healthy. It's going to keep your hamstrings healthy. It's going to give you that explosive power that you need, right? If you're doing like a 10K and you're trying to really find that energy output in the last, kilometer or so, maybe past some people, you need to generate that power. The kettlebell swing will give it to you. If you're doing a program, for instance, like hypertrophy, you're trying to put on some mass, maybe, doing a lot of swings might be counterproductive because there is, this kind of cardio component there. And there, it's just a lot of load. So for instance, during the 10,000 swing challenge, I'm not necessarily bulking up. I am definitely leaning out though. It's only 2 weeks into the challenge and I've dropped around 3% body fat. So I'm looking more shredded. I'm looking stronger, but I'm not necessarily putting on more muscle, maybe in my glutes, but not really in other parts of my body. So if you're doing a hypertrophy training, you're not going to do a heavy kettlebell swing kind of training, but maybe it's like at the end of your workout or at the beginning of your workout, you do like a 10-minute swing kind of workout. There's a good protocol that we do, which is 10 kettlebell swings on each hand at the top of every minute for 10 minutes. Or you could do 20 swings at the top of every minute, or, adjust it based on your fitness level. So for instance, if I'm using like a 24 kilo bell, which is one that I use regularly, that's around 53 pounds. I'll do 10 swings on my left hand, switch to my right hand, bang out 10 on my right, and then I'll rest for the remainder of the minute. And then at the top of the next minute, start again and just, rinse and repeat for 10 rounds. So that is a great kettlebell workout. You really feel the burn. You get the blood flowing. You get sweating. It's a great burnout to your workout, and it doesn't do negative effects to your hypertrophy training. So you can still do your, maybe you're like doing like a 5x5 protocol or something like that. And then at the end of working your, back and buys or whatever your focus was that day, you do this little kettlebell sequence at the end. Great way to supplement kettlebells into your training. If you have any more questions though about how to use the kettlebell swing, how to bring it into different programs, there's tons of different ways to do it. We have tons of ideas, so definitely feel free to contact us directly. And again, if you haven't already, join the Move with Revolutionary Fitness page so that you can get more feedback on there and engage with the community, because there's a lot of trainers who are on there who have tons of experience and tons of feedback for you. So I think that's it for today. Thanks again for joining us on RevFit Radio. We'll be trying to broadcast at least once a week, if not twice a week. So definitely stay tuned for regular episodes to come out. Keep an eye out for the live broadcast on YouTube, so that put the notification, check notifications off on our YouTube channel so you can see our live videos and all that good stuff. And we're recording on YouTube Live. It'll go through some post-production, and then we'll put it out on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify and all those other podcast directories a little later on this week. Just a reminder, the production team for our podcast and all the work we do is 100% volunteer-based, and we're dedicated to providing this free weekly support via the podcast, but we need your support as well. So, there's a few monthly expenses that we have, hosting our podcast, producing our podcast, all that kind of stuff. We have a page on our website, revolutionaryfitness.org/support, where you can make some donations, make some contributions. There's even a way to do a monthly contribution. So definitely go on there. We appreciate all that support. Other ways that you can support, of course, is writing a review for us on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of those other podcast directories. Go to revolutionaryfitness.org/review. And also, please share our podcast on social media. So, whether you're seeing this on YouTube and you want to reshare this video, or you hear the audio version of our podcast and you want to share it, please do so. Mention us. We have a Facebook page. Facebook.com/RevFit Radio. We have an Instagram account, which the handle is again RevFit Radio. So feel free to mention us, link us, all that good stuff. And we look forward to connecting with all of y'all. So thanks again. Tune in a little bit later on this week to hear our next episode, which is hopefully going to be a Q&A episode with Renee Bachelet. All right. Hope you're doing well. Enjoy your week. Let's move together. Peace.